I'll read another verse from the book of Acts. Um, and I read one yesterday as well too, but I like I like the book of Acts. You know, it has some really good stories, but it also has a lot of good reminders. So this one this morning is from Acts 15:8 that says, God knows people's hearts, and He confirmed that He accepts Gentiles by giving them the Holy Spirit, just as He did to us. And today, I'm just grateful for. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for health. I'm grateful for strength. I'm grateful for my wife and children, and the opportunity to be here with each and every one of you. Um, just extremely, just extremely grateful. For God's grace and God's mercy. In this particular verse. This was just one of those reminders because, so back in those days, right? Um, the Jews, um, because they were the chosen people, right? And, most of them were really sort of like these eccentric, I guess that's the right word to use, these eccentric um, religious persons, right? And one of the things that they were, very much against Jesus about was that, he would treat everyone equally, the Jews and the Gentiles, you know. And in this particular verse, it's just a reminder that, you know, God's grace and His mercy is for everyone, you know, like I kind of spoke about this yesterday too, and I don't know why I keep touching back on this point, but you know, at the end of the day, God's grace and His mercy covers everything. It covers a multitude of people, things, sins, everything, right? Like, don't never assume that you are outside the box of God's grace or outside the box of God's mercy. Like a lot of times, like sometimes we beat ourselves up and we think to ourselves that, man, maybe you was on this right good path. You know what I mean? Like you was doing so good, and then all of a sudden you backslide. When you backslide, God was right there to get you. You know, like don't never think that like there's something that you could do that's gonna put you outside the box of His grace and His mercy. At the end of the day, we all are human. We all are just flesh and bones. You know, we make mistakes. Sometimes we have challenges, I would call them. And especially in my men's group last night, I was telling this guy, and I always tell your brother Luke, because I consider him like like he's just such a knowledgeable person when it comes to the Bible and you know um, so many things. I always revert to him whenever I have a lot of deep rooted questions. And I was telling him how hard it is sometimes, like just walking, being a Christian. And a lot of persons don't see it until you have to walk this road because, especially like when you sort of grow and like you start to be kind of recognized as like, or recognized out in public or be like a popular person or a public figure or whatever it is. But you have such an important mantle that it becomes scary sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I don't ever wanna do something that makes someone think that all the things that I preach about and all the things that I say has been nonsense, if that makes sense. You know? So every day, like I don't just think about myself when I make decisions or I think about myself when I go out or, I make conscious decisions to do and not to do certain things. I now have to think about everyone else, you know, and how others may look at me, how my children will look at me, how my wife sees me, and it could get scary sometimes. I'll be honest with y'all, like, because sometimes you feel like you have such a burden on you, or like you have such this huge mantle on your shoulders that, you need to just be there, and not make mistakes. But something that Brother Luke told me last night was he was like, um, Here you just gotta keep chasing the Holy Spirit, He said, just be reminded, you know what I mean? That once you focus on God and you just see Him, you know, everything that needs to be aligned up and everything that is in place for your life and everything that you may be afraid of, He has already seen it in the future. Like he looks down at you and he sees the end of it. So these things, he said, don't worry about it. He said, if you start to think that way, you can start to worry about it. And he already told us, like, tomorrow will have enough troubles for itself. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. No, I laugh because of that, right? Yeah, anytime I hear that verse, I think about what mom say. She say, even the bird is up on cold soup. So I just um I just wanted to say this reminder today to everyone. Um, yes, so sorry. I don't know what happened just now. Um, but just back to what I said. Let me close out. You know, God's grace and His mercy is for everyone. You know,